Hi, welcome back to another episode of the SG Travel Buddy. Glad to have everyone with us, and hopefully today will be another interesting topic which you guys are experiencing and going through, and hopefully this episode will be able to help you navigate through your planning to come to Singapore and all that type of stuff. Alright, so today we are going to be having a look at night arrivals. Okay, so I know many people do arrive around 10 p.m. and even later in the morning. So what we're going to do is have a look and explore the different options. But before that, to go and explain to you what the procedure is like and a bit of strategy as to how to, if you're in that window of, catching that last MRT, how you're going to navigate and get through so that you can catch the last MRT rather than miss it. Okay, so this topic is specifically going to address that particular area, and we're going to look at a few strategic ways of how we're going to approach it. All right, so today we'll have a look at number one, the arrivals. Okay, how you're going to do the arrival part, where which terminal you're going to arrive at and stuff like that. Okay, so that's going to make a difference. Number two, we're going to look at the gate all the way through to customs and exiting out, right, out at the arrival hall. Okay, so how you can maximize minimize the time spent there. Okay, and then part three, after you actually get out, how you're actually going to travel to the city. And again, it's depending on time. Okay, so we're going to have a look at those different options there. All right, so the first thing we want to have a look at is how you're going to arrive at the airport. Okay, Singapore has 4 different terminals. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there is a website that you can go to. It's a Changi Airport website. You go to the main website, you have a look at the arrivals section, and here, if we go and have a zoom in, right, you'll be able to see it tells you which particular particular terminal you guys will be arriving at. And it also tells you which belt number your bags will be sitting at. Okay, so normally the belt number is quite close to the exit that you're coming out of, right? So that's the way that it works. Okay, so here, if you have a look at this particular site, you'll be able to see, okay, you've got terminal 2 here if you're arriving by Singapore Airlines. If you're arriving by Xiamen Airlines, it's terminal 1. Indonesian AirAsia is terminal 4, and then Singapore Airlines, another one, is at terminal 3. So to get an idea of where your flight will be landing, right, you can go and have a look at the past, look at the previous day and see where that particular flight has landed. Okay, so that gives you an idea. That's part 1. All right, now after you've sorted that out, the next thing you want to do is to have a look at how far it is, right, all the way out to your immigration point. Okay, so if you have a look here, let's take terminal 3 just as an example. Okay, normally when you come out, right, you'll be able to see how long it takes to travel, right, if you're walking. Okay, so this is actually walking time. So let's say you arrived out at A16 and you needed to get out around here, right, the middle section, right? So it would take you 2 minutes to there, and then another 9 minutes walk. So probably by the time that you reach here, right, the arrivals part, right, where you got to go through immigration, it'll take you maybe budget 12 to 15 minutes, right? And that gets you out to terminal 3, right? The other thing would be, let's say terminal 1. Okay, terminal 1, let's say worst case you arrive at C26, you take a 3-minute out, then you walk another 4 minutes or so, you turn here, So it'll be 3, 7, and then maybe another 3 minutes or so, right? So it'll be about 10 minutes, provided that you come out at the very far end, right? If you come out closer, you know, C11 or so, it's a few minutes and you'll already be out at immigration. Okay, and likewise with Terminal 2, the same concept, and then the same as Terminal 4 is a lot smaller, so you can get out, should be quicker if you're closer to this side, right? And then you'll be able to get out. All right. Now, so go and download this particular page, or you can refer to this particular page, right? Zooming out, you can see and later I'll show you another picture of what it looks like from the street level. But normally, if you were to visualize this, if you're catching a bus, a taxi, anything that comes by road, there is one road in and out of the airport. Okay, so it's only one. So when it comes in, the road will go, and you'll see on the left there is Terminal 3. Then you'll see Jewel. There's Terminal 1 ahead, and then it'll U-turn and then come back, and you'll have Terminal 2, go down a bit more on Terminal 4. Okay, just keep this in mind because I will show you another picture later on. Okay, so this is a high level, and this is the proximity and where everything is, right? So actually there is a way for you to walk, right? Let's say you're in the pub. So all of these connections are all the internal transit terminal, okay? So if you are transiting between T3 and T4, right, you would have to go all the way here, then transit across to T4, right? Likewise, if you wanted to go to T1 and then transfer across, right? And then likewise T2, you can transfer to T3 via a SkyTrain here, B to E, or another SkyTrain which is A to F. All right, so there are different ways to get around, but this is the internal transfer. It is not the public transfer. Okay, so public, it's you just follow the signs up the top, and it's fairly easy to get around. Okay, next. Now this is the part that you need to take note of. All right, this is the strategy. So if you do want to try and catch the last MRT, you will need to try and save time, right, as best as you can. All right, so, and it starts from the plane. Okay, when you're on the plane, when you hear the captain saying, okay, we're about to start descending into Singapore's Changi Airport, then you make sure you go to the toilet, right, get yourself prepared, all that type of stuff. All right, the other thing to note, right, is that you need to remember how many items that you actually have, right? So if you're carrying 2 small bags, if you're carrying a parcel or a gift for somebody, and you've just got like different bits and pieces, right? Do not end up in a rush or flustered and then say, I've got to go and catch the last MRT. And then after that, you know, you're halfway out and then you figure out, oh, I forgot, you know, I've left something up in the cabin compartment. I've left something in the seat pocket, you know, then that kind of destroys it all and you've got to go back, right? So let's not do that. So just note how many items you have, go through it mentally, prepare yourself. It's all about preparation, okay? The next thing you do is when you are exiting the aircraft, okay, it really depends where you're seated as to how quickly you get off the aircraft. So for me, right, whenever I travel, I make sure that I'm seated quite close to the point where you can get out of the aircraft, okay? So it'll be fairly close to the area where you get in, the door that you get in, because that's the same door that you get out, right? So in Singapore, it's always the front of the aircraft. We don't exit the back of the aircraft, okay? So if maybe in your home country, you entered on the plane via the stairs, you know, coming up the back of the plane, that doesn't happen. So if I was to choose, I would always choose kind of the middle frontish area where I know that the gates will open, the door will open and everyone comes out, okay? So depending on where you're seated, like if I sit quite close to the front, I am pretty much from the time the door opens, I'm out within 5 minutes. Okay, that's for sure. But if you're further down the plane and then you've got to wait for people to kind of get organized and all this type of stuff before they exit off the plane, it's going to delay you. Okay, and you can't kind of push your way through, right? You just got to wait. All right, so that's a bit of planning as well. Okay, all of this is kind of planning to help speed things up. Now, the next thing you got to do is when you get off the plane, you follow the signs that are above, okay? They're the yellow signs and it says arrivals, okay? Follow the crowds. I'm sure everyone who's getting off their flight as well will also head towards the arrivals section. So just follow the sign. It's a huge sign. You can't miss it, okay? And then the other thing to note, right? And I've funny story, but I was having coffee at the airport one time and there was this person that suddenly looked very lost and she was going and asking one of the people who work at the airport and said, I need to get my bag. And then the old uncle is just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I stood up, I went over to her and I said, oh, so what's the problem? And she said, oh, I need to get my bag. I said, oh, your bag should be at the arrivals hall. And she says, yeah, I came out of Terminal 1, but my bag's at Terminal 2. And I'm just like, okay, why is your bag... I mean, I didn't say it, but the obvious thing is, well, if your flight landed at Terminal 2, you should get out at Terminal 2. Don't get out at Terminal 1. So perhaps what she's done for whatever reason is she's gone from Terminal 2, and before getting out, she just decided to go on a bit of a trip to Terminal 1 for whatever reason, exited out at Terminal 1, which she can do, right? Because she's got a passport, she can exit out, but then her bags are sitting inside at Terminal 2. So she couldn't, I didn't follow up the story, but I think she'd have a bit of explaining to do to try and get back to her bag. And by the time she's done all of that, probably her bag's gone off to lost and found, something like that. So there's a whole process trying to get your bags out of lost and found, right? But don't go terminal surfing, okay? Just when you get off the aircraft, go follow the process, get out at arrivals, go collect your bags, right? And then get out, okay? Don't get out through a different terminal. Okay, so then the other thing you've got to do is complete your SG arrival card, right? So what I usually do is before I get on my flight, so you've got an hour before, right, boarding the plane, then I'll just go through and do the SG arrival card, right? So that when you get off the flight and when you go towards immigration and you do all your immigration stuff, your SG arrival card is done, okay? That's another thing. So you don't delay by kind of arriving there and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot to do it, and then stand there, trying to connect to Wi-Fi and doing all that stuff. Okay? Alright, next screen. So we've got passports, okay? Passports mostly will go through the auto gate, okay? They'll direct you to the auto gate and they say use the auto gate. But if you are having problems, right, then they will there'll be an officer, and the officer will direct you to go and see the manual counter, right? So there's a person sitting at the manual counter and they'll process you manually. But normally, most people go through the auto gate, right? I think there was a question which is asked quite often, whether Singapore stamps passports, and the answer is no. Right, so whether you go through the auto gate or whether you go through the manual counter, right, there is no difference. Okay, none at all. All right, so next part is, okay, so when you go through the auto gate, right, you need to go and scan. The way it works is you take your passport, you put it in the machine, right? It'll then say take your passport out. The gates will open, you go through, you do your fingerprints, right? After you do your fingerprints, it'll say, look at the camera, you look at your camera, and then after that, it'll say, welcome, blah, 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 whatever your name is, and then the gates will open, and then you just go through, and welcome to Singapore. It's that easy, okay? I don't know how to explain. It's really that easy. Okay, so after you do that, right, there is a display. I think it's either a board or a TV screen. Probably a TV screen. Can't quite remember. And it'll say that if you're on flight, whatever it is, right, then go and collect your bags from this particular belt number. So, it looks like this, right? So this would be belt number 45. Okay, and as you're walking out to collect your bags, usually on the left or right, there's a last chance to go and get duty-free items, right? So if you wanted to get your alcohol or stuff like that, you can go and buy your duty-free items there. It's the last chance. Then you go and collect your bags, right? And when you collect your bags, if you've got a black bag, okay, more than 50% of the bags there are black. All right. So try to differentiate, your bag by, I don't know, tying a ribbon on it or putting some fancy colors or fancy stickers or something like that so that you know what your bag looks like. Okay. I've had cases before as a black bag and we changed. I wasn't used to the bag. It was a new bag, and then I stood there at the belt for quite some time and saw this bag going around and kind of not realizing that, that's right, that's my new bag, right? So, know what your bag looks like. But on the bags, right, there will be a bag tag, okay? And this bag tag will have a barcode on it as well as some alphanumeric references there. So you can go and have a look at that particular tag and just reference it with the one on the back of your ticket, and you'll see, it's the same tag number. Yes, this is my bag. Okay, make sure you pick up your correct bag. Then you exit at the customs lanes. Okay, next slide I'll talk about customs, but the customs lanes are as easy as there's a red lane and a green lane. Simple. You take the green one if you've got nothing to declare. You take the red one if you've realized, I brought something which I probably shouldn't have, or I've brought something which is prohibited and I didn't know, right? Then you declare it in the declaration. But by and large, most people walk through the green area, okay? But do the right thing, okay? Then, after you exit out, you also need to consider the next couple of things. Again, whether you can plan for this in advance or not depends on you. SIM card collection, right? So if you need to collect a SIM card, that happens after you exit out, right? And then you got to go and collect it somewhere. Or if you don't have a debit or credit card or don't want to use your debit or credit card, then you'll need to get an EasyLink card, and all of these procedures take time, okay? So Singapore is fast, okay, it's efficient, but if there are people ahead of you in a queue and they're fumbling around or don't really know what they're doing or having communication problems, that slows you down as well, okay? So as far as you can, try to automate. Right, so we've talked about the EasyLink card and using your debit credit card for public transport. Use that if you can, right? It still works out, and I've posted several times, it still works out cheaper using your debit or credit card than using an EasyLink card, because the EasyLink has a non-refundable $5, and if you're using your debit credit, you get a 60-cent charge per day. So if you use your debit credit card and you travel, like, let's say 50 times, I'm not saying you do, but if you travel 50 times within one day, right, tap on, tap off, it's still only a 60-cent charge, right, because they charge you 60 cents per day. So actually, if you do your calculations, if you stay 9 days or more, it makes sense to get an EasyLink card. But if it's 8 days, 7 days, anything less, it still works out cheaper if you just use your debit or credit card. Okay? Alright, so that's that. And then a piece of sharing, right? So my experience, okay, is that I've got through immigration and all that within about 20 minutes. Okay? So from the time that the plane lands at moves into the gate and the doors open, I'm one of the first people out of the aircraft, and then I'll just go walk all the way down and wherever it is, right, just walk the whole way, and then eventually clear everything, clear immigration, collect your bag, clear customs, and you're out. 20 minutes, right? It can be that fast if you're organized, right? Of course, I didn't need to collect any SIM card, right? But it can be that fast. For you guys, if you are unfamiliar with the airport, it may take a bit longer. I've put there about 35 minutes, and again, it depends who you're traveling with, right? If you're going with some seniors, it will take longer, okay? And if you're going in a group of 20 and you're the group leader, 20 people don't all necessarily move very quickly, okay? And, it may take a bit of time, so give yourself more buffer, okay? But again, this is all part of your planning stuff, right? So you kind of want to plan for different scenarios, and then when the scenario comes across, then you decide, I'm going to do this or that, and it's all prepared, right? So you don't need to panic or anything like that. All right. Okay, now, customs. The situation with customs is, like I said, there's a red lane and a green lane. These are examples of things that end up in the red lane, okay? So first thing I'll tell you is go to the main site, okay, here, okay? These four pictures are not everything, okay? These are just snippets of things which I think most people would find relevant, okay? So prohibited goods, right? Wildlife, weapons, obscene materials, tobacco, controlled drugs. Obviously, don't bring the drugs. Okay, so this part, I think a lot of people may not know, and I've still seen some questions asking this. It's the electronic cigarettes, so things like vape, okay? They are not allowed. They're prohibited. You cannot bring them in, okay? If you find yourself bringing it in, go to the red side and go and declare, okay? The next one is controlled goods, okay? So controlled goods, this is looking at things like medication, right? So I've given you the website for this as well. If you need medication, right, and it's only available through prescription in Singapore, like sleeping pills, antidepressants, stimulants, carry a doctor's prescription, okay, which will confirm that you need the medication, right? So just go to your doctor and just say, I'm traveling, can you give me a letter saying that I need this? That's it. I don't think you'll have any problems. If anyone stops you, anyone asks questions, just show the doctor's letter, okay? Next one here is bringing food. Okay, so I've seen some questions about bringing canned food into Singapore, right? So you can see here, canned food falls under processed food, right? So all countries, these are the types of things. Each person is allowed a maximum of 5 kilos or 5 liters of processed food products, okay? And you can't exceed $100 worth per person, okay? So that's something that you can have a look at. And then here's another one. So this is about cigarettes, right? So under Singapore law, it is mandatory for arriving travelers, right, to pay taxes to bring in cigarettes, tobacco products, and all goods exceeding the duty-free concession for GST relief. So if you are bringing in cigarettes, right, then make sure you declare them, and then you'll be asked to pay GST, right, which is a local tax, right? It's 9%. Okay, so whatever the value is of the cigarette, you pay 9% tax, and then you can go through. Okay, so that's it. That's the customs red lane. All right, but do go and read this, okay, if you are concerned, and people who you're traveling with, make sure that they're familiar with this, okay? You don't want any problems. All right, so provided that you have exited already, okay, which is great, now the next question is, how do I get to the city, okay? The option which is the easiest, which everyone should go for, right, if you're able to, is taking the MRT, okay? That's the very first thing that you want to try and do, Okay? Now, the problem that you will have is that if you arrive late in the night, okay, and it takes a long time to get through immigration, customs, maybe you've got a big group or whatever, the thing to note is that your last MRT, okay, is 11:18 p.m. Okay, the last one. So it doesn't mean that if your flight arrives at 11:15, you'll be able to catch the last MRT. No. All right? Because you need to cater for all of the stuff before that, right? So if you have a look at the points below, so I've done an estimate, okay? And again, what I said earlier is it depends who you're going with, whether there are any delays, whether people ahead of you are slow, whether you're at the back of the plane and you just got to wait for everyone to get off the plane first, right? All of these things, but the latest disembark from your flight, so the latest time to get off the flight should be around these times. Why? Because you will need to walk, right? And you'll need to get through immigration and all that stuff. So if you're at Terminal 4, right, the latest time is 10:15. Why? It gives you an hour to get to the MRT. Why do you need an hour? Because there's a shuttle bus that you need to catch, okay? So getting out of the flight, clearing all the stuff, it probably brings you to around 10:45-ish, right? Plus minus. Then you got to wait for the bus. Let's say the bus just left, okay? Shuttle bus just left. You got to wait like 12 minutes or something. Then you've got to factor that in, plus the actual time that the bus takes to get to Terminal 2, right? And then from Terminal 2 walking down to the MRT, that's fast. That's like a minute or two, right? But that whole process, so you give yourself a bit of buffer, okay? That's Terminal 4. For Terminal 1, right, you need to add in, walk time or SkyTrain time, right? Again, waiting, possibly. So I'd say about 10:20. And then if you're Terminal 2 or Terminal 3, right, that one, because the MRT is attached to the arrival hall, it's really easy, right? So you don't need to walk so much, right? As long as you clear the immigration customs part, then you can go straight down and catch the MRT. All right? All right, so the second thing to consider, like I said before, is use your debit or credit card, right? Make sure it's on the Visa or MasterCard network, right? And that you've enabled the card for overseas usage, okay? If you haven't enabled the card, it's not going to work, okay? You need to make sure it's enabled. All right, then you've got, and then you just tap in and go. If you have children which are under 7, they do not need a card, okay? They travel free of charge. Just put them in front of you, right? Tap your card, right? Your credit card or debit card. Tap it, the gates will open. You shuffle your kid forward, and then you follow directly behind. Okay, that's how you go through. And the approximate cost is about $1 to $2. So that's why the MRT is a much more favorable option. Okay, there's a video previously on how to travel, right, from the airport all the way to the city, and you can go and look at that. We might redo another one soon. Okay, just refreshing things. All right. Now the next way you can get to the city, right, is by bus. Now, buses give you a bit more time, right, to be able to get into the city. But the thing is, the city is an area, right? It's not a specific point, right? So the bus may not stop where you are right at your hotel doorstep, okay? So that's what you've got to cater for, right? So the only bus that goes to that particular city area is bus number 36, okay? It'll go to areas like Suntec, Esplanade, City Hall, Dhoby Ghaut, Bencoolen, Somerset, Orchard, right? It's primarily the bus that goes to Orchard, right? But it will stop along those ways. So don't catch any other bus, because they end up in all other suburb parts of Singapore, which the hotels are usually not at, right? And then you have your last bus, which is 10:52. Okay, so that's bus number 36. Okay, and then after that, there is a change in bus number to 36A, right? So, and then there'll be like, so these are the times, right? So the last bus here for 36 is 10:52, right? Then from like 11 o'clock onwards, right, you'll see these are the times that 36A turns up. Monday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay? But essentially the last one is around midnight. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind. Alright. But also keep in mind that this is Terminal 2. Okay? Where is Terminal 2? It's this picture here. Okay? So like I said before, right, there is one road in and out of the airport. So when you come into the bus will come into the airport, it'll stop at Terminal 3 first, then it'll go Terminal 1, then it goes Terminal 2, Terminal 4, and then exit out and then continue the journey to the city. Okay? So it's a loop function. This is the end of the loop and then it travels back. So the times here, okay, show this is Terminal 2. Okay? So if you're looking at Monday, the first bus is 11:02. But 11:02 is Terminal 2. So you need to minus about 15 minutes, right, if you want Terminal 3 or Terminal 1. So if you're getting on at Terminal 3, I would probably be there around 10:50-ish, right? Around there, right? The buses may be a bit late, right? So 10:50-ish, right? Same thing like here, right? If it's midnight, then about 11:40. Okay, I wouldn't leave it too late. 11:40 at Terminal 3, maybe 11:45 at Terminal 1, and then midnight at Terminal 2, and then Terminal 4 would probably be 5 past, 10 past the hour, okay, for you to get out. Alright, so the difficulty with okay, so the cost will be about $1 to $2. It's about the same as the MRT. The difficulty will then be where to get off. Okay, so if you are taking the bus, it's nighttime. I tell you, even for me as a local, sometimes you're preoccupied, you're looking at, you know, your mobile phone or trying to figure out SIM cards or whatever, and then you miss your bus stop. And then it's like, when you realize you get off and it's like, I don't know where I am. I've just got no clue, right? Then you'll have to end up trying to get a Grab or a taxi off the street, right? The other thing is, you know, the stops, let's say if you're staying at Bugis, right? I mean, bus number 36 doesn't go through Bugis, right? So you will need to drop somewhere and then still catch a taxi, right? Or still catch a Grab and go to Bugis, right? So there's the hassle of dropping part way, not knowing where you are, trying to flag a taxi drives past you for whatever reason, and all of these concerns, which I think you can probably have a think about and figure out whether it's worth, you know, just getting it halfway, or whether it's better to just catch it directly from the airport, and just go direct to your hotel. Okay, it's something for you to decide, right? Again, do a bit of planning. All right, then the next one is the getting to the city, right, via taxi. Okay, this by far is the most convenient solution. Okay, the most convenient solution. And those of you who've been watching the previous videos, you would have seen these pictures before. All right, these are the calculations to show you roughly how much a taxi fare is. Okay, so it is dependent on the time of day that you travel, right? And that's how the variation happens, right, with the taxi fares. Okay, so taxi queues are usually within 3 minutes of your arrival hall, and there is usually a steady supply of the taxis, so you don't need to wait really, really long, most instances, right? It is also a predictable cost, okay, because it goes by meter and by distance, okay? There is no flat charge, there is a flat charge, but I don't think it's necessary to go for that, right? Just take the metered cost, okay, and then make sure that you ask for a receipt, right? Especially if you're a bit nervous, right? You may think, oh, you know, the taxi guy is going to scam me or something like that and take me the long way. Well, if you're a bit concerned, right, what you can do is go and ask for a receipt, right? Before you get in the taxi, just say, hello, uncle, can I have a receipt later? Okay? And the guy should say, yeah, okay, fine. If he says no receipt, then you say, okay, never mind. And then you get another taxi, right? And the people standing at the taxi queue will arrange for another taxi, right? But I've never had a case of someone saying, no, I'm not giving you a receipt, okay? So you can dispute later, right? If there are issues, if you have a receipt, then you can say, here's the evidence. You know, instead of 19 kilometers, the guy took me 37 kilometers, something like that. And here's the charge, right? And how it got calculated. So you can dispute that later if you need to, but most times it should be okay. If you're looking at the cost, right, after 5 p.m. for about 19 kilometers or so, it's roughly about $30 to $35, right? And then before 5 p.m. it's cheaper, which is about $25 to $30. Okay, so that's just giving you a range, right? It's not specifically these $31.04 and $33.65, because you also need to consider, you know, idle time or traffic jams and things like that, right? So just keep that in mind. Okay, taxi is something I would recommend, especially if you had a long flight or it's nighttime and you just don't want the hassles. Always good, right? Because you get to a hotel, have a good sleep, wake up maybe like 10 p.m. the next morning, 10 a.m. in the morning, go have a late breakfast, a brunch or something, and then after that start your day at around 12 o'clock, right? And then you can still cover like so many things from 12 o'clock till nighttime, right? You really can do quite a bit, okay? So make sure you're fully charged, have energy. Of course, good sleep means that you're less likely to get sick, which to me is quite important as well. Okay, and then the other option, D, right, is to do an airport transfer, right? So airport transfers are good if you have larger groups, okay? So if you have, you know, more than 4 people, 4 people is a standard taxi, or if you have like lots of bags, right, and you just have a lot of luggage and stuff, then one of the things you want to do is to consider getting a 7-seater, okay? The cost, as it says here, 7-seater is about $60 and it's per trip to anywhere, okay? So you can fit 5 people with lots of luggage, 6 people with lots of luggage, you know, or 7 people with not so much luggage, you know, it all works. But there is a desk there, right? The ground transport concierge. Right, again, it's in the arrival hall. Just go there and talk to them, okay? The fares are, when you go there, the fares are there, they're listed, and it says the same thing. It's like a $55 option, a $60 option, okay? So none of this $100 to get to your hotel, right? Unless you need 2 vehicles or something like that, but it's $60, it's a flat charge, and it's a set rate, okay? It's not one of these bargain rates, right? Singapore, we don't kind of practice bargaining on fares, okay? Alright, the next option is Grab, okay? So some people have asked, the Grab app that I have in my home country, is it the same as the Singapore one? The answer is yes. There is no Singapore version of Grab. It's the same version, okay? Some people have also asked, do we have Uber in Singapore? We used to have Uber, and then Uber got bought out by Grab, okay? So we don't have Uber anymore, we only have Grab, okay? Now there are other ride-hailing companies around, right? But their network is a lot smaller, okay? Grab is by far the biggest. So you can look at other ride-hailing companies, and if you're at the arrival hall, they also kind of list them out, right? So you can scan the code and book using those apps as well. But I think if you've just arrived, it's nighttime and you're just tired, you just want to do something simple and just book it and go. You don't want to be messing around registering an account and all this stuff. Okay, and then waiting for a few drivers, which may take some time because there aren't so many drivers, okay? So I'm not advocating Grab, okay? I'm just saying this is how it is, right? So it's not sponsored, Okay, just FYI. Okay, and then number 3, right, is because you've done all your homework, right? You've assessed what the transport costs are. You know that if I catch a taxi at night, it's between $30 and $35, right? Then when it comes to Grab, you take out your phone and you say, okay, I'm ready to go now. You click Grab and then you see, oh, okay, so based on supply and demand, based on this particular place, Changi Airport Terminal 4, for example, right? Terminal 4, this place at specifically 12:30 at night or 12:35 at night. I press the button and then I see, oh, okay, yeah, okay, you've got a rate of about $37. Okay, so it's more, then you will know, oh, okay, 37, but normally from the airport it's about 30 to 35. Grab might be more expensive. Or if you click the button and it says, okay, it's like $28, then you know, oh, okay, it's probably cheaper than a taxi. Then you decide, okay, let's go and take the Grab, and you click the button and you book the Grab, right? So it's important to do the homework. That way you know roughly, you know, what the options are, and you can make a decision just like that because you know the numbers, right? So, okay, so it's up to you to decide which one you decide to take. Okay, next one. Okay, then there is the last option. I call it option F. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see that. I've shared this picture before for those of you who are looking at my page. Yeah, this is option F. Okay, I'm not gonna say too much about it, but there are other people who have asked about whether you can sleep at the airport. I think the official answer is no, but clearly, you know, that there are some people who might be resting, and be discreet if you are resting. So this is an area behind the escalators, right? The main arrival hall is this side. Then you've got the escalators, and this guy is behind the escalators, right? And then the taxi stands around here, this side on the right. Okay, so you can, it's kind of discreet, it's not so obvious. Yeah, I'll leave it up to you guys, right, how you want to do it. But yeah, if you want to do something, try and be a bit more discreet. And then the other thing to note is if you wanted to wait until the first train starts, okay, so Monday to Saturday, the first train is about 5:30, okay, and Sunday and public holidays, it's about 6 p.m. Okay? Alright, I think that's about it. So I'm just going to go through now. I saw there were a few questions. Let me see. Let me try and get to questions. Okay. Let me change the video back. Alright. Okay, so we have questions. Oops, like this. Okay. So, first one, Karain. Hi. Okay. Hi, Karain. Love this. Okay, cool. Good. I hope it helps, you know, people who are doing their planning, right? I think planning is extremely important because it alleviates a lot of last-minute decisions, right? Because sometimes people think, oh, you know, it's okay, I'll get there and, you know, kind of figure it out. And Singapore is one of these places you can figure it out on the fly. But if you're like kind of 10 o'clock at night, you know, and you realize the last MRT, you know, is coming up, and then you're trying to figure things out on the fly, then it kind of gets a bit, yeah, not so nice, right? Especially if you've got people behind. Like sometimes I will travel with my family, right? If we go to a new country, and if I don't plan, then my family's, you know, maybe my kids are hungry and tired, and they're just like, "Pa, can you hurry up?" You know, and I'm like trying to figure it out on my app or something. Then, you know, I mean, it could have been avoided, right? If you planned it a bit. Okay, so next one, Angeline, riding the SkyTrain is free. Yes, the SkyTrain is free. Okay, it's all within the airport. It is free. There is a SkyTrain between the terminals, so the transit area. Okay, so the transit area is all it's all free, right? The transit area is just between the terminals internally. Then if you exit your immigration, there is another SkyTrain, right, which is also free, right? So all the SkyTrains are free, but it goes to different parts, right? So they all still link up, but one links up internally and one links up in the public area, okay? Pro tip, right? You know how in Jewel, right, some people have taken pictures of Jewel where you've got the SkyTrain going past Jewel, right? So you've got the waterfall here, and then you'll see the SkyTrain going past, and then people take photos, right? If you want that, the way you do it is you get on at Terminal 2, right? Terminal 2, take the SkyTrain from there to Terminal... Terminal 3, I think it is. Okay, let me come back to you. I thought it was Terminal 2 to Terminal 3, but let me double check that. I'll put it in the comments, okay? Alright, Farah King. Hello, sir. I have a question. Can I sleep in the airport? Yeah, okay, so I think this has been answered, right, in that last slide. Technically, I don't think anyone will say yes, but you can rest there, just kind of be a bit more discreet, okay? But I hope that last slide has kind of answered things for you. Angeline, same thing. Plan to sleep in public area. Plan to wait till morning. Okay, if you want to see the rain vortex, okay, the rain vortex starts at about 10 o'clock, if I'm not wrong. I think different days, I think it's about 10 o'clock, okay? You can go check out the Jewel website, Jewel Changi Airport, right? Check the website, but I think it starts at about 10, so it's a bit of a wait, right? The other option is, you know, you can always check into your hotel, like, for an additional night, and then on the way back, right? So when you're leaving Changi Airport, then you go and see Jewel, okay? Hopefully it'll be in the daytime, right? If it's early at night, there is 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, they have a sound and light show, right, at Jewel. So you can see that with the waterfall and the different lights and all that type of stuff. Okay. Emma, hi Emma. This live is helpful. Okay, thanks for your feedback. Glad to see it's helpful. Okay, Tommy. Okay, good. The vortex opens at around 11 a.m. Yep, good. Thanks for checking. And I think that's it. Okay. Thanks very much for joining the episode. Do leave some questions if you do have them in the comment section. Okay, and then I will go through and answer that as well. All right. Again, another long episode. I was hoping to finish earlier, but okay, it seems that it's hard to do these days. All right. Thanks very much for joining, everyone. And we'll see you again next week. Take care. Bye.